It was the dog days of midsummer. The injury-riddled Mets were floundering along in last place. Their manager faced cries of impeachment by the Shea Stadium delegation. Then, after a particularly emotional, exhausting game, relief pitcher extraordinaire Tug McGraw pounded into the Met locker room and cried 3 monumental words: "You gotta believe." His teammates responded to the evangelical order like an aroused revival tent congregation. "We believe," they shouted, and the Met fans echoed the cry, "We believe." That little emotional edge, that belief in themselves, might have been the spark that carried the Mets to the divisional title. The National League East was as balanced a division as baseball has ever known. Throughout the season, the 6 teams stayed within spitting distance of each other. No team could pull away. In fact, at season's end, only one team, the Mets, finished with better than a .500 winning percentage. On the final weekend of the season, the Mets held a precarious lead in the standings. On Sunday morning, September 30th, 4 teams still had a chance to win the Eastern title. The Mets faced back-to-back doubleheaders against the Chicago Cubs. For the first game that Sunday, the Mets had John Matlack on the mound. This brilliant left-hander was a profile in courage during the 1973 season. Earlier in the year, he had been seriously injured and almost beheaded by a line smash back through the box. He recovered swiftly and paced the Met pitching staff down the stretch. Matlack pitched a superb game against the Cubs, but he made one crucial mistake. All right, Matlack looks in for the sign. Here's a pitch to Sano, and there's a base hit by Sano. Rossello coming in to score, and the Cubs lead 1-0 here in the bottom of the 8th inning. In the vital second game, it was Jerry Koosman against the ace of the Cubs staff, Ferguson Jenkins. Koosman was more than the Cubs could handle, and the Mets blasted Jenkins back to his native Canada. Rusty Staub, Le Grand Orange, had 3 hits, and Cleon Jones hit a big home run. Ferguson Jenkins pitched to Jones, and there's a drive going deep to left. That one is well hit. It is going. It is gone. And the Mets now lead 5-2. On the first day of October 1973, the Mets wrapped up their first title since the miracle year of '69. Tom Seaver, with relief help from Tug McGraw, held the Cubs to 4 runs. Rusty Staub, with 4 big hits, and Cleon Jones' red-hot home run bat, powered the Mets to 6 runs and the title. Here's a windup by Hooton, and the pitch to Cleon Jones, and there it goes. No doubt about that one. A home run for Cleon Jones, and the Mets lead 1-0. Although it would be impossible to match the helter-skelter finish of the National League East, the 3 other divisions remained open races for most of the year. It wasn't until September that the surging Orioles finally ran away from the Red Sox, Tigers, and Yankees. And it wasn't until the astrological signs changed from Leo to Libra that the Oakland A's pulled away from their old-town upstart rivals from Kansas City. In the National League West, the Big Red Machine finally got the checkered flag ahead of the Dodgers and the Giants late in September. So while the world champion A's took on the ex-world champion Orioles in the American League Championship, the You Gotta Believe Mets challenged the Cincinnati Reds. On the plastic grass of Riverfront Stadium, Tom Seaver proved once again to be Tom Terrific, at least for 7 innings. Tom struck out 13 in the game, but 2 pitches that got away cost him a victory. In the American League, Jim Palmer shut out the A's of Baltimore 6-0 to win their first contest. But in the second game, the A's hit 4 home runs to down the Orioles 6-3. In Game 2 in the National League, John Matlack was too much for the Big Red Machine. He shut out the Reds while allowing only 2 hits, both singles to left by reserve outfielder Andy Costco. In the 4th inning, Rusty Staub put the Mets on the scoreboard.
2-2 to Rusty Staub. There's a drive hit into deep right. That one's way back. It is good. A home run for Rusty Staub. Just made it. The Mets take a 1-0 lead, and that's their first base hit.
Matlack and Don Gullett continued in a tough pitcher's duel for 8 innings. Then in the 9th, Gullett came out and the Mets exploded for 4 runs.
1 out, nobody on. Me on the batter. 1 ball, 1 strike. 2 o'clock Eastern Daylight Time tomorrow. The Mets and the Reds from Shea Stadium. That game will be followed by Oakland and Baltimore from Oakland. There's a line shot to right, a base hit for Meehan. 3rd hit for the Mets. The Reds have 2. Rusty Staub is the big man in this game with a home run in the 4th, 1 out, nobody on. And that's it, 1-0. 3 balls, 1 strike. Some of the Red fans doing some home plate umpiring. Adios, that's the way to hang in there. Meehan's at first, 1 down. Staub is on. Meehan goes to second. Staub's on first. Leon Jones will be the batter. Way out in front of it. 1 ball, 2 strikes. There's a smash into center field for a base hit. Meehan rounding, coming in, and is safe at home plate. Johnny Bench trying to block the plate on him. Meehan ran right over him. Staub takes 3rd, and Jones on the throw to the plate went for 2nd. And the Mets have a 2-0 lead. And runners on 2nd and 3rd, 1 down. John Milner has flied to deep center, hit hard into a double play started by Joe Morgan, and bounced off the pitcher's glove. They're going to walk Milner. The Mets have the bases loaded. 1 down. And Jerry Grody coming up. There's a ground ball up the middle for a base hit. Staub is coming in. Here is Cleon Jones, a wide throw by Geronimo. He scores, and the Mets lead 4-0. Jerry Grody with a single up the middle with the bases loaded, driving in 2. Don Hahn has a strikeout. He has singled and walked. 1 out of 2. The Mets have runners on 1st and 2nd, 1 down. They have scored 3 times now in the top of the 9th. A hard ground ball hops over Morgan. They're going to hold the runner at 3rd. The Mets have reloaded the bases. And Bud Harrelson's up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 men in a row reach base for the Mets. The infield in. 4-0. New York. 9th inning. There's a base hit into center field. Here comes Miller to score. 5-0. And the Mets pour it on now.
Matlack went on to preserve this 5-0 victory by striking out the powerful Johnny Bench to end the game.
We have 2 down. The Reds are down to their last out with Johnny Bench the batter. A strike to him. It ticked his bat. 2-2. Strike 3. Matlack finishes with a flourish. A sensational performance by young John Matlack today.
The playoffs moved to Shea Stadium, and there's nothing quite like a quiet game of ball on a Long Island meadow on a pleasant autumn afternoon. The Mets struck early. Rusty Staub's blazing bat accounted for 2 home runs his first 2 times up.
Down toward the line. Back goes Costco. Looking up. It's goal. 2nd home run in a row. 3rd is a sunny day. 6-0.
And Jerry Koosman pitched smoothly to give the Mets a whopping 9-2 going into the 5th inning. Then the proverbial rose hit the fan.
You want excitement? We've got it in New York. I don't claim to be a mind reader, but I think Spark Anderson was saying calm down. But the men in the bullpen refuse to go in the bullpen out of left field because they're being thrown at by the crowd here in New York. Gary Nolan has come out. They're not going to go in the bullpen at all. And so Anderson is coming out saying, hey, stop it. They're going to call him out of the bullpen, I believe. There are a couple of... Anderson is walking clear out to left field. You know, the heroics of this ballgame thus far belong to Jerry Koosman, the pitcher, on a 6-hit and 2 runs, and Rusty Staub, who with 2 home runs, has driven it in. And, of course, the Mets are on the way, they hope, to a 2-1 lead. But all of that is liable to be forgotten, at least for the moment, in this free-for-all.
Jim, as you pointed out, this whole thing initiated at home plate on those close pitches by the two different pitchers from both ball clubs. Rusty Staubby one time, and then brushed back a little by the Cincinnati pitcher, and then Pete Rose by the Met pitcher.
Now they're sending out the grounds crew from behind home plate to do a little police work out in the outfield there.
When the ugly spectacle ended, the game resumed. The Mets walked away with a 9-2 victory. One more win, and the "you gotta believe" guys were in the World Series. But Game 4 was Pete Rose's revenge. The Mets scored first. After 2 third-inning walks, Felix Millan came to bat.
Last of the third at Shea Stadium. There is no score. But the Mets have runners at the corners with 2 out. That's the base hit. That's 1-0. Stone stops at second base. Millan has his second RBI. That's the first hit of the game, the first run of the game. The Mets lead it 1-0.
George Stone kept the Reds in check for 7 innings until Tony Perez, who was 0 for 14 in the series to this point, came to the plate.
Here is Perez, his fly to left and grounded out. Always has that home run power in his bat. Don't ever forget that. Drive, left field. Back goes Jones. It's gone. It's 1-0, and the home run power of Tony Perez pays off. It's 1-1, and don't go away.
In the 9th inning, the Reds loaded the bases, but couldn't break the spirit of Tug McGraw.
This is going with your best, Tug McGraw, against your best, Johnny Bench.
And McGraw went to his fastball with his bread butter pitch is his screwball, but he's challenging Bench.
Breaking pitch, he walks, and the bases are loaded. Rose goes to third, Morgan to second, and Andy Costco is due up. One to score, 9th inning. Strike. Screwball, good pitch.
Jim, this is pressure. McGraw there, I tell you. That's what I meant when I said you had to be a special person to be a relief pitcher.
Another one, strike 2, same screwball pitch. Another one, looking out for 8 straight screwball. And now it is Dennis Mikey, who is 0 for 2, plus a walk. 2 out, Rose at third, Morgan at second, Bench at first. Popped it up on the bump to Garrett, they're out of the inning. Bases left loaded with no runs. To the last of the 9th we go. It's 1-1, New York and Cincinnati.
But Pete Rose still had a score to settle. As he came to the plate in the 12th inning, a zealous Met fan threw an apple. It bounced across home plate. It also made Pete Rose mad. Very mad.
Now, Parker, someone threw something out on the field, and so Harry's going to pick it up and throw it off. Pete Rose had 230 hits during the regular season. In championship play, he has 5. Bill Morgan is on deck. Drive deep to right field. Back goes Staub at the wall. Rose has hit it out of here, and Staub just leans against the wall. And is Rose happy after what happened yesterday and the moves he's got today?
Jim, he went around that base as fast as he was hitting a triple.
Hit a 2-2 pitch, no doubt about it. And Rusty Staub simply ran to the wall and leaned his forehead against it. The Reds are alive in the National League Championship.
In another extra inning game that day, Bert Campaneris hit an 11th inning homer to give the A's a 2-1 win and a 2-1 lead in the American League playoffs. The Orioles bounced back to tie it at 2 games apiece. The same day, the amazing Mets rocketed into the World Series. It was a day of hysteria in Metland. And the action went like this.
You know what's going to happen if the Mets win this game. You just know what's going to happen on the field. They're beginning to charge the field down the left field line now. Getting down very close to coming on. Outside to Rose, 2-2. What the fans have forgotten is not yet over. The fans there along the left field. Here comes another young lady in slacks. We seem to have a corner on them today. Now Sparky Anderson, Alex Ramis. And I believe they are getting some of the Cincinnati wives out of there. That's the Cincinnati box. That's the Cincinnati box, and they're taking the wives out of there before it all starts. I don't remember this ever having happened before. We're still in the middle of a championship game, and they're removing the wives of the Cincinnati team. Of course, they remember the fracas that happened here on Monday. Now, people are leaning over the Cincinnati dugout, crawling up onto the roof, trying to reach in to shake the hands of some of the Reds, or perhaps grab a hat. Now the police tell them to get back. Oh, are they ready? Should the New York Mets win this game, the miracle will be repeated. Pete Rose steps back in. Tom Seaver gets the fastball down low. It's 3-2. And the Reds are still very much alive. Ball 4 because they have loaded up the bases. With 1 out, the bases are loaded on a 7-2 ball game. Now here comes McGraw. McGraw was in a peck of trouble yesterday in his first championship playoff situation, but did not allow a run, even though he was in all that trouble. Now with the bases loaded, 1 out, Tom Seaver cannot lose the game. May have pitched the Mets to the championship of the National League. Well, here's Tug McGraw. We said in all that trouble yesterday, bases loaded in the 9th and 10th and 2 on in the 11th. Got out of it all. He's coming in with 1 out, 1 ball, 1 strike to Morgan. Now the Met fans who were so sure that Seaver and the Mets were home free with the National League Championship have calmed down perceptibly. They realize that 3 men are on, and we're heading into the heart, the power of the Cincinnati lineup. Popped him up. Infield fly rule in effect. Harrelson takes it 2 out. Tug McGraw and the New York Mets and out away from the National League Championship. But Dan Dreesen coming up. Ground ball. Milner goes to McGraw. It's over. Here we come. The miracle has happened again. Tug McGraw saves it and heads for the dugout. 7 runs, 13 hits, 1 error for New York. Seaver the winner. McGraw gets it 2 runs, 1 of them only earned. 7 hits, 1 error for the Reds. Billingham the loser. And as we saw 4 years ago, the miracle has happened again, and Bedlam breaks loose at Shea Stadium in New York. The New York Mets are in the World Series. And now, let us go to Maury Wills with the man of the hour, Tom Seaver.
Thank you, Jim Simpson. I'm here in the Met clubhouse, and there's chaos here. The National League champions. I got Tom Seaver here, the winning pitcher today. Now, Tom,
Thanks, Maury.
What was your plan, your game attack?
Well, I never really know until I warm up in the bullpen. I didn't have much of anything. I tried to get away with a couple of curveballs, throw some razor, throw some sinking fastballs, get some ground balls, get some double plays, get the ball on the ground, and
did you feel like you had command?
Goddamn, it's been an uphill fight all year long for us, and injuries. Everybody says we're out of it, and we got our cotton picking players in the lineup for 6 weeks, and we won the cotton picking thing, and we deserve it. We played like hell, and we fought like hell.
Well, I believe you deserve it too, because that's why you're here, Tom. Everyone is referring to this as a miracle of 1973. That I would like to believe that you came out of spring training feeling that you could win it.
There was no doubt in my mind. With the players we had, if everybody stayed healthy, we were going to win the thing. Well, God, Milner's out for a month, and Harrelson breaks his hand, and Brody breaks an arm, and Jones is out with a torn tendon in his arm. Well, those are the guys we leave Florida, and we think we can win. And all of a sudden now, none of them are playing. You know, we don't have anybody that are big guns in the lineup. Once we got him in there, once everybody was healthy, we had it made.
The last place Mets of August were now the National League pennant winners. They started to drive early in September when their walking wounded returned to action. Now they were in the big series with the world champion Oakland A's. Once again, the Mets were the long shots, the underdogs, the Cinderella team. With the exception of Seaver and Staub, they had no superstars. They were a collection of non-entities compared to the popular, famous, and talented A's. But they had one basic ingredient holding them together and pushing them forward. They believed. Game 1 in Oakland was almost enough to shake that belief. John Matlack pitched brilliantly again, but was deserted by his defense. The Mets threatened to send Ken Holtzman to the showers prematurely for 5 innings, but could only muster 1 run.
It's trailed by 2. We're in the 4th. 1 out. First pitch is on the outside corner to the right-handed Jones. Strike 1. Holtzman just likes to look, get a sign, and go to work. Here he comes right back, changes on this one. This ball is hit out into the alley in left center field. Jackson back, Rudy back. It falls between them, bounds off the wall. Jones goes into second base with a stand-up double. And the Mets are back in business, just like that. And that'll bring up John Milner, the left-handed hitting first baseman, with those 23 home runs during the regular season. Which means, of course, that one swing of Milner's bat and this ball game would be even Steven again. Holtzman now will slow the tempo down quite a bit, as he did with Harrelson at second base in the 3rd inning. Fastball, line drive. On comes Jackson in center field. Around third base comes Jones. Jackson is going to throw way off line home, and it goes over the catcher and down to second base. On the throw goes Milner. He can't go on the third, so the high throw doesn't get him another base. But it's 2-1.
And the Mets could have tied it up right there, except for this catch by Reggie Jackson.
2-1 the score. Holtzman throws. Grody, center field. Back goes Jackson on the dead run, trying to catch up to it. He does! Go all the way to the warning track and now turns around, throws to the cutoff man. Milner was halfway to third and had to come back. Jackson on the dead run. He's been bothered with hamstring pulls here in September. And again, as Harrelson made his line drive catching back to second base, there was a little of the white showing on that one. Jackson just did get to it.
Okay, trivia fans, here's some of the all-time World Series records set or tied in the bizarre second game of the 1973 series. The longest game, 4 hours and 13 minutes. Most at-bats by an individual, Don Hahn, 7 times. Most hits in an extra inning game, Reggie Jackson, 4. The fewest hits for most at-bats in a game, Felix Meehan, 0 for 6. Most errors at second base in an inning, Mike Andrews, 2. And that last one was a beauty. It fired the shot heard round the baseball world, the Mike Andrews affair. But all that happened after the game. The action went like this. The A's got 2 runs in the first inning and another in the second. The Mets responded with a pair of solo homers, Cleon Jones in the second.
Well, right now it's Cleon Jones to lead off for the Mets. They're trailing 2-0. Jones batting for the first time was 2 for 4 in yesterday's ball game. And the first pitch by Blue is hit out to deep right field. It's way back into the corner goes Jesus Alou. He's looking. It is going. It is gone. Goodbye. Cleon Jones with a home run in the right field corner, and the Mets are on the scoreboard.
And Garrett made it 3-2 in the third.
Now 2 strikes. The pitch to Garrett. It is drilled to right, and this one is gone. Goodbye. Long home run by Wayne Garrett, and the Mets now have picked up their second run of the ball game, and they trail by a score of 3-2.
In the 6th inning, the Mets got 4 big ones.
Well, the New York Mets lost the first game yesterday 2-1 on 2 unearned runs. Today they're down 3-2, but now they have the bases loaded. Their first real threat of the ball game. They're only down by a run, and Don Hahn coming up. Bases loaded. Now Hahn steps in. Pena looks over to third. Now looks into his catcher, Ray Foster. Blue Moon Oldham has begun to throw now. Right-hander has joined Knowles. There's a ground ball. Toward third base. Mando comes on, picks it up. Can't get it. Everybody's safe. The game is tied. A slow ground ball. Mando, I doubt, could have made a play anywhere had he been able to pick it up. Jones scores, and it's 3-3. And the bases remain loaded. 1 ball, 1 strike to Harrelson. Oakland got 2 in the first. New York came back with a Jones home run in the second. Oakland got another in the third. Garrett homered in the New York third to make it 3-2, and now they've tied it up here in the 6th inning. Pena taking a lot of time. Ready, sidearms it, drive to right field, that is a base hit. On comes Milner, the Mets go in front. Bases remain loaded as Alou throws in. And Tennis cuts it off. The Mets have scored twice here in the 6th inning. Pena has come on and hit Brody. Hahn got an infield base hit up the third baseline, and now Harrelson singles in Milner. The Mets take the lead. There is still one out. Knowles back and throws a breaking pitch. Knowles has it. Right back to Fosse, throws it line. Knowles throws the ball away, and 2-run scores as nobody gets up to cover home plate after the pitcher fell down. The ball is thrown by Fosse. Knowles fell down, and nobody reacted to cover home plate, and so not one but 2-run scores. The fifth and sixth. And runners are now at second and third.
Darrell Knowles had a lot of time to make the play, and they very easily could have had a double play on the throw to the plate and then a throw on to first base.
The A's battled back in the wild ninth inning to tie the score. Raleigh Fingers relieved Darrell Knowles in the 10th inning and matched Tug McGraw pitch for pitch through the 10th and 11th innings. And then came the terrible 12th.
Bud Harrelson, the leadoff for the Mets. He singled in the 10th inning, the first batter that Fingers pitched to when he came in the ball game in the 10th. And the 3-2 pitch. Harrelson lines it into right center field. It might be extra bases. Coming over is the right fielder, Lou. He can't get to it. It bounces down. Harrelson on his way to second base with a belly slide, and he's in safely. Bud Harrelson leading off with a 2-base hit. And the Mets have the go-ahead run at second base with the next batter being Tug McGraw. Ball is bunted by the third baseman. It'll be a base hit. The pitch to the plate, and Bando was charging as the shortstop was going over to cover third base, and the ball bunted so hard that Bando could not get to it as he ran right on by it. So Tug McGraw gets an infield bunt base hit. The Mets have runners at first and third, so the razzle-dazzle by the Oakland ball club crossed up by the hard bunt by Bud Harrelson. I should say by Tug McGraw. So now runners at first and third. No one out, and now it's up to Willie Mays for the New York Mets. One strike count. He and Rusty Staub are going back to New York early to take batting practice tomorrow. Here's the pitch. It is bounded to the middle. It's going to be a base hit, and Harrelson scores from third. McGraw goes down to second base and holds there, and the Mets take the lead by a score of 7-6 as Willie Mays singles through the middle, his second World Series hit in this 1973 year. Now the batter coming up is Cleon Jones. He has a single and a home run, also has walked. Back in New York, up 5 times in this game. Here's the pitch back to Jones. A line drive to left field. It's hit hard. Rudy comes up, takes it in one bounce, and McGraw is held up at third base. Wisely held up by Eddie Oates, the third base coach, and now the Mets have the bases loaded as Jones singles into left field. And the batter coming up is John Milner, a left-hand batter, and Dick Williams is now going out to the mound. He has a left-hand pitcher warming up in the bullpen, Paul Lindblad. So the Mets have scored 1 run on 4 hits in the inning. And Paul Lindblad is coming in to pitch to the left-hand batter, John Milner. McGraw, the runner at third base. Mays, the runner at second. And Jones, the runner at first. Lindblad working from the windup. And the first pitch to John Milner. Hit hard to the second baseman and booted to the legs of the second baseman. Mike Andrews, 2 runs to score. McGraw scoring from third. Score. McGraw scoring from third. Score. McGraw scoring from third. And Mays from second base as Jones goes over to third on the air. A similar error made by Felix Mayon in the first game that gave Oakland the win. So the Mets have 2 more unearned runs. They had picked up 2 unearned runs on a throwing error by the pitcher, Darrell Knowles, back in the 6th when they took the lead. And the Mets now leading by a score of 9-6, and the batter coming up is Jerry Grody. Lindblad back to the plate. Grody grounds it foul on the third base side. Just about a capacity crowd, if not a capacity crowd, and just about all the fans still here in the longest game ever played in the amount of time in World Series history. A ground ball again out to second. Coming over is Andrews. He fields the ball, throws wild to first base, and he pulls tennis off the bag, and another run scored. So Mike Andrews with his second error of the inning, and the Mets lead by a score of 10-6. Moving over to third is John Milner, and Grody safe at first base. Now at 1 strike. The pitch back to Campaneris. It is grounded to short. Harrelson moves up, fields the ball, throws across the diamond in time, and the Mets win it. And they have tied up the series at 1-1. A's falling behind on their rally with 1 run in the final inning. They had 2 hits. There were no errors and 3 men left on. And the Mets win it by a score of 10-7.
After that wild finish, the series moved to New York for the next 3 games. Monday was scheduled as a travel day, a day of rest. But for the Oakland A's, it was a day of turmoil. Mike Andrews was placed on the disabled list, more or less against his will. A's owner, Charlie Finley, wanted Andrews to be replaced by Manny Trillo on the active roster. Commissioner Bowie Kuhn refused, and the Oakland players were so upset they mentioned such words as mutiny and revolt and taped Andrews' number 17 to their uniforms. But when the sideshow was over and the feature attraction took place before a primetime national TV audience, the A's won another extra inning squeaker. It was the A's best, Catfish Hunter, against the Mets' best, Tom Terrific. Catfish looked hooked in the first inning.
He'll face third baseman Wayne Garrett to lead off the last of the first inning. Garrett, left-handed batter, straight up stance and takes the pitch outside and high, ball one. Garrett hit .256 throughout the regular season, 16 home runs, 58 RBIs, and his only hit in the World Series thus far has been a home run in Sunday's game. 1 for 10. Wills this one deep toward right field, taking on a curveball, and it is gone. Home run. Mets lead 1-0. Hunter working very fast, comes back, line drive, pass by Endo, left field. And Mian has himself a base hit as Rudy picks it up in short left field and fires on to Green at second. Well, Jim Catfish Hunter has fooled no one thus far. Took something off that pitch, and Mian pulled it past Bando at third base, and that brings up Rusty Staub. Wind blowing toward right field, favoring Rusty Staub. There goes Mian, ground ball to the hole. Past Campaneris on the hit and run. Mian goes on to third base and will stop there. Perfectly placed by Staub. Mian running with the pitch. And now Catfish Hunter is in real trouble, and Dick Williams trots out of the dugout and across the foul line. And here comes Cleon Jones with more base hits in the 1973 World Series than anybody else. He is 5 for 9 with a .556 average. Hunter ready and back and throws. This bounces in the dirt away from Fosse. It'll be 2-0. A scoring is beyond from third base. Staub goes to second. Hunter wild pitches home the second run.
The A's got one back in the sixth.
Now here's Gene Tennis, who also has good power. Curveball at Tennis is a beauty, called strike one. Seaver gets set. Here's the pitch. Fastball line to left field. It's hooking and goes fair into the corner. Here's Sal Bendel coming in to score, and Gene Tennis goes to second with a double. It's a 2-1 ball game, and the A's have really teed off on Tom Seaver here in this inning.
In the eighth, Bert Campaneris started things stirring.
Seaver with a lazy throw over to first base, just reminding Campaneris he knows he's still there. Seaver drops down slowly to the waist. There goes Campaneris. The pitch is taken. Grody's throw to second is not in time. He steals it. What a throw that was. It was right on the bag. Happy Campaneris steals second base. And that one was really close, I'll tell you. And Joe Rudy's job now is to move him over. Here's the pitch. Rudy slants it to right field. Base hit. Campaneris rounding second. He's coming in to score the tying run of the ball game.
By the 11th inning, both Hunter and Seaver were gone. But that little big man, Campy Campaneris, was around to finish it.
The game is on the field right now where Harry Parker's got it all to himself. 1 ball, 2 strikes on Bert Campaneris with Ted Kubiak a base hit away from coming in with a tie-breaking run. Now Parker ready again. Here's a pitch. Line drive, left center field, base hit. Ted Kubiak rounding third. He's coming home. Here comes the throw, and Campaneris goes all the way to second, and they cut it off and throw it to second. They get him, but the run does score. Garrett cut the ball off of the pitcher's mound and threw to second to get Campaneris, but his base hit did score Ted Kubiak before they got him. So Oakland has broken the tie. It's the A's 3 and the Mets 2.
The Mets were down 2-1. They needed this win badly, and win they did. It began with a first-inning barrage that sent Ken Holtzman scurrying for the nearest fallout shelter.
A line drive base hit by Garrett started it, and a beautiful bunt dragged down the third base line by Felix Millan went for a hit. The 2-1 pitch. Staub swings away, hits it in the air to deep left field. Way back goes Joe Rudy. He can't get it. It's over the fence. A 3-run homer for Rusty Staub.
In the 4th inning, the Mets got to Blue Moon Odom and Darrell Knowles. Once again, Rusty Staub, who went 4 for 4 with 5 RBIs, did the damage.
And now with the
the score 4-1. The bases loaded. Here is Rusty Staub. Rusty's already driven in 3 with a home run. Knowles winding. Here's the pitch. Bouncing ball right field. Base hit. Here comes one run in. Harrelson scores. Right behind him, Garrett scores, and the Mets have blown it open. They lead 6-1.
John Matlack simply overpowered the A's, giving up 3 hits before making way for Ray Sadecki to mop up in the 9th inning. Game 5 was the last at Shea Stadium, and it was poetic justice that Tug McGraw should be around at the finish. It all started with him. His battle cry of "You gotta believe" led the last place Mets to the World Series. They had come a long way from that steamy cellar in midsummer to the airy heights of the World Series. And here in Game 5, they led the A's 2-0 in the 9th inning, and Tug brought them home.
Tug McGraw is a strike away from turning New York upside down again. He can't wait to throw it. Billy Canigliaro backs off. Now he's in there. Listen to this crowd. Here comes the pitch. Screwball, strike 3, call. He got it. Tug McGraw throws a screwball over the outside corner, leaving Billy Canigliaro standing at the plate and putting the Mets on top in the World Series, 3-2.
Back in Oakland for the 6th game, it was Jim Hunter against Tom Seaver again. Lafayette Escudero versus Baron von Richthofen. Ace against ace. This had been a series of pitching duels. The A's big bats were strangely silent. This game, Reggie Jackson said, "Enough's enough," and he cocked his big bat.
Reggie Jackson. Jackson led the American League in home runs and runs batted in. There's a drive to left center field. He could score a run. Jones out to take it off the wall. Coming to third is Rudy, and he'll score. Jackson falls down, rounding second base, and has to go back to the bag as the relay throw goes over the head of Bud Harrelson and gets away. So Reggie Jackson drives in his 3rd run of the series, and the A's lead 1-0. Jackson doubled in the 1st run with a double to left center field. He has driven in 3 in the series. And the base hit by Mandel III off Tom Seaver in this game. A's leading 1-0. They have a runner at first base, 2 men out, bottom of the 3rd. And again, Seaver back to the plate. The pitch is hit hard to right center field. It'll be a base hit going over a Staub. He has it, takes it back to the infield. Meehan picks it up, and Bando is coming in. The ball dropped by Meehan. The throw to the plate is not in time. Reggie Jackson hitting the ball to right center field. It was fielded by Staub. He cannot throw because of his injured shoulder. He threw the ball underhanded to Meehan, who dropped the ball. Meehan then picked it up and threw it on end. It was too late, and the A's lead 2-0 as Jackson goes in the 2nd.
In the 8th inning, the Mets finally got Catfish out of there and on the scoreboard.
1 ball, 1 strike. Well, it's 1-1, but that's the pattern of the pitching of Catfish Hunter. Not an overpowering pitcher. Got every pitch nearly, but he'll move it around, inside, outside, up and down. Line drive down the right field line, and that's a base hit. Boswell is 2 for 2 in series play, and Jackson was throwing well to the right, so he was there to prevent it from being a double. The 4th hit of Hunter, and we go back to Garrett. And Dick Williams is coming out with the knowledge that Hunter's been up high throughout the game. They had everybody warming in the 7th. Garrett, left-hander's coming up. Darrell Knowles is down in the bullpen, a left-hander, and Garrett has hit 2 home runs. But he has gone one way with Garrett. That's pitching him away. He's not busted one in on him or gotten it in over the plate. 5 pitches, all on the outside corner. There he is again. Line drive misses out of the alley in left center field. Rudy comes over to cut it off, cuts it off. On the way to third base goes Boswell, and they got runners at the corners. The tying runs are on with 1 out. And Meehan coming up. 1 out. 2-0 to score. Knowles now from a stretch to the right end of Meehan. Ground ball, the right side. Gets past everybody. Garrett's on his way to third base. The throw goes to third base. Garrett's in. And the tying run with 1 out is over at third base. It's 2-1. Meehan hit the first pitch and come through. And some of the fans now are a little rusted because Catfish Hunter was taken out. But Dick Williams went with the percentages. The left-hander to the left-hander Garrett. But he got the base hit. And now Meehan is followed with a base hit.
Raleigh Fingers took care of the Mets 1-2-3 in the 9th. and the World Series was thrown into crucial Game 7 for the third consecutive year. The final baseball game of '73 was a bit of an anticlimax. The You Gotta Believe kids were outgunned at the end of the trail. That they had gotten this far was a miracle in itself. But on the deciding day, the A's big armor moved into firing position.
Right. Next pitch is line down the left field line. Another base hit. It'll be extra bases. Holtzman going into second base with his stand-up double. Here's the pitch. It is hit to deep right field. Going back, it's stopped in the warning track. It is gone. Goodbye. A home run by Campy Campanera. Bert Campaneris has put the Oakland A's on the scoreboard with a 2-run home run. They lead 2-0. And the 1-2 pitch is hit hard to left center. Another base hit. Might be 2. Going over Hahn to cut it off. Rudy making the turn at first base. Holds there as Hahn gets the ball back into the infield. The next pitch deep to right field. It is going. It is gone. Goodbye. 2-run home run by Reggie Jackson.
In the ninth, the Mets gave it one last shot.
The 2-2 delivery. There's a base hit into right. The Mets are still alive. Milner playing it safe. Stops at second. Don Hahn has his third hit as he singles to right. Now switch hitting Bud Harrelson will be up. Runners on first and second, one out. The bunt, a surprise bunt, a good one. Fingers up, throws, has him. Harrelson trying to bunt for the base hit. Nearly surprised the A's, but Fingers got off that mound and throws him out. 1 ball, 2 strikes to Cranepool, 2 down. Runners on second and third. Ground ball to first. Dennis fumbles the ball. A run is in. Fans are on the field, but the game is still on. The Mets are still alive. Gene Tennis booted the bounding ball. The Mets with 2 down. Runners on first and third in the 9th inning. They've had a runner. Martinez has gone in for Cranepool at first. There's a little looper out to Campaneris. The A's are the World Champions. Oakland has won it again.
The Oakland A's had repeated as World Series champions. That feat had not been accomplished since the Yankee dynasty of '61 and '62. The A's locker room was jubilant in victory. The Mets locker room was quiet. Rusty Staub, who played courageously in all 7 games despite a painful shoulder injury, summed it up this way. We're down now because we lost. But we got to the 7th game of the World Series. When people realize how far we had to travel to get here, they'll be very proud.